Good afternoon, everybody. It's H. Weber the Dog with you on a Monday, the last Monday of July 31st. Hard to believe another month we're going to have Labor Day. Welcome to Weber This Week on a Monday. Today, a good friend of mine, Frank Eldredge Sr., joins me to talk about his work regarding the D.A.R.E program and his work as a school resource officer out in Romulus. And we played a little surprise on Frank. We brought his boss in today. He's back for a second consecutive week. The contract that he signed to come on my show is going to be quite large, Sheriff. Thanks for coming in, by the way.
Thank you.
And, Frank and myself, Frank, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you, Doug.
Frank and myself, give you a little background. We became close friends a few years ago. I've known him for several years, but we became real good friends a few years ago. And we have a good time. We laugh a lot, and we have a habit of going out to eat some food in different places. And one thing you got to know about myself and Frank is we can be tough critics. If you serve good food at reasonable prices and good portions, we're coming back. However, if you don't give us good service and good food, we have that line going through the name of your restaurant, we'll never be back. But no, we have a good time. Frank's a good, close friend of our family, and it's good to have him on. Frank, let's talk about it. We're here to talk about D.A.R.E. And, of course, the sheriff mentioned last week at the close of the show that he sent you to D.A.R.E. training. Talk about the training and what prompted you to move that further and further down the road to what it is today.
Basically, January of 2017, I went away to D.A.R.E. instructor school to learn to become a D.A.R.E. instructor for the Seneca County Sheriff's Office. Pretty intense training. It was 80 hours of instruction, and I got to say it was 80 intense hours of instruction. Probably the most intense training that I've ever been to in my 22 years of law enforcement. A lot of late nights, a lot of preparation, learning the curriculum, learning how to teach the curriculum, and it was very intense to say the least. And it was the reward at the end was well worth the work that was put into it. That's all I can say.
It's pretty amazing. And Sheriff, I know you mentioned to me last week to our viewers that you had him enrolled in that training. I know we're going to get to what he has developed at the Romulus School and was the first in the state, according to the records that presented this online. Tell us a little about yourself and how you feel so proud to have him do what he's been doing.
Well, that was one of my campaign promises, is to get a school resource officer into Romulus, the last school in this county to have one. And Frank went to school resource officer training, which is pretty intense. There's a lot of rules and regulations with education law and everything else, and understanding how to be a school resource officer in the first place. And then tagged along with that was the D.A.R.E. officer training, and Frank has got a great grasp on being an SRO and a D.A.R.E. officer, and he kind of took it to the next limit. And I mean, it's awesome that he's succeeded so well. And Romulus is very lucky to have him.
And I know I've had a chance to talk to a few of his friends that work out in Romulus, and they're proud to have him as well. And, Frank's not a real small, short guy, as you can tell. He certainly is not what you'd call 100 pounds soaking wet. And I've often wondered if you're in Romulus, you don't want to cause any trouble in the hallways when this guy starts walking down the hall with his uniform on. So that's a good deterrent. Frank, let's go back. I'm aware that the fact that even though we're close friends and our families are close, I'm aware of the fact that there's probably nobody in the entire region that you don't know. It's amazing the people that you know. And if you don't know a specific person, you know their family connections. So I'm asking the audience to, for the show purposes, tell us a bit about yourself, where you were born, and how you got involved in the police work in the first place.
Well, I was born in Geneva, New York. Graduated from Geneva High School, and then I later moved to Seneca County to become a deputy sheriff, took the test there, and became a deputy sheriff in 1995. Started out on a part-time basis, worked for Waterloo Village PD and Seneca Falls PD, and then just went through the process, taking the civil service test and getting hired full-time, and just putting a lot of time and effort into my career. It's been 22 years now. When I look back on what I've done over those 22 years, there's quite a bit that I've done. I was a canine officer for almost 11 years. I did that, handled a drug dog, a detector dog,
Right.
as well as a patrol dog. When that was over with, I kind of thought my career was going to just slow down and I would walk out the door someday and retired.
Sure.
And then when this sheriff over here, got elected, I stuck around for a while longer, put in for the school resource officer job, and I got it, and it kind of rejuvenated my career, I got to say. After 22 years, it was 21 and a half years before I got the SRO position at Romulus, kind of rejuvenated and jump-started my career, kind of gave me something to look forward to every day, and I truly enjoy it. I really embraced the opportunity to become the resource officer down there at Romulus Central School.
And Sheriff, as far as for the folks that may not know the job chart or the job description of a school resource officer, what are you looking for, and what is Romulus administration looking for in a school resource officer?
Well, there's a lot of responsibility and liability that goes in with being a school resource officer. They really have to walk kind of a fine line. They're not really working for the school. They work for me, but they're really not doing law enforcement either. They're kind of the liaison between law enforcement and the school district itself. And Frank has really taken a big step in understanding that. And I think maturity and the 22 years that he has on the job really helped him a lot, because he knows where the line is and he's not afraid to say no. And yet he's really taken on to helping the staff and the students there and helping us too. So it's been a great fit. It really has. He's really fit in, and I could see it too. I mean, like Frank said, I was the same way. I think when I had 30 some years on, 25 years on in Waterloo Police Department, and you start to become a little stale and stagnant, and then this came along, and I changed and became sheriff, and I think it does rejuvenate you. You're doing something different. It really pushes you along.
Well, not because you're on the Weber show, but when you ran, I had no doubt you would win, because seriously, you're well liked and you're well respected throughout the area, and you and your team do a great job. As I said last week, as I really think you guys do a wonderful job.
Like we try to stay very transparent and honest and do the right things, and it's tough when you have 113 employees. You're always going to have a few problems here and there, but I think overall I have a lot of really good employees.
Okay, Frank, let's get down to the nitty-gritty and some questions on the D.A.R.E. Of course, as we all know, D.A.R.E. stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. But Frank, as far as what is the mobile D.A.R.E. for our viewers that may not understand what that is?
Well, the D.A.R.E. curriculum, the way I was taught it, and in January when I went down to D.A.R.E. school, they were teaching us as instructors, future instructors, how to use the curriculum and how to understand the curriculum and present the curriculum, all on a planner, a paperback planner, which I brought with me. This paperback planner right here is how traditional D.A.R.E. was taught. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, and then you open it up, and it talks about keeping it real, and it talks about the D.A.R.E. decision-making model. And they were teaching it to us as future instructors on how to use it. So toward the end of the training, after 80 hours of sitting up all night, drawing visual aids and aids to help you out and teach this to students, and they're teaching you how the mind is developed, in fifth grade students that you're going to be teaching to, because that's traditionally what we teach is in the elementary here. They started mentioning mobile D.A.R.E. Well, by this time I'd already been in Romulus in September, and I started seeing the little kids walk around with these Chromebooks, and I didn't quite get the concept of what a Chromebook was and what they were using them for. I knew that every kid had one, and so I started asking questions, and I work a lot out of the Dean of Students office, and I would see them come in with a broken Chromebook, and I'd say, what are they doing with these Chromebooks? Why are they, why are they breaking it? What's going on with them? And they said, well, geez, we're doing this personalized learning here at Romulus. We're all Wi-Fi compatible here throughout the whole school, and even the principal was walking around doing his observations for the teachers with a Chromebook in his hand. And I said, well, explain to me a little more what this is. They said, well, we're the technology here at Romulus, and we've gotten a grant, and we've got Chromebooks for every student, and we got Wi-Fi throughout the school, and it's just they learn off the computer, web-based computer learning. And I said, also, right at the last day of D.A.R.E., they're teaching us about mobile D.A.R.E. It's a new concept that's being presented, being rolled out by D.A.R.E. America. It's D.A.R.E. Mobile, and they say it's the future. So I started asking questions, and Karen Simon, who's a state educator for the New York State D.A.R.E. Association, I talked to her a little bit about it. I said, Karen, she goes, I follow education around the Finger Lakes pretty well. She's retired. And she says, this might be right up Romulus' alley to do mobile D.A.R.E. She goes, I've never seen it. It hasn't been taught in New York State yet.
Wow.
And Romulus sounds like it'd be a good candidate for it. It kind of caught my interest as to, maybe we should try this out. Maybe we should present it this way. So basically, it's a computer web-based way of learning for the students, the personalized learning, where each student learns from a Chromebook. And what it is I go in there as the instructor to a 5th grade class, and I typically sign up the students, whether it be 20, 25, 30 students, and they're all given a key code. Well, they plug that key code into their computer, and it sets up that classroom for them.
Wow.
So for each teacher's last name, I set up a classroom for that day that I'm instructor for their class, and when I go in there every week, there's 10 lessons, 10-week program through D.A.R.E. Mobile, and I just go through there and I teach it, and they learn it on the computers, on their Chromebook, and they really embraced the concept, and it went over really well this year. And I've taught it in a couple of the classes in the county in schools that don't have the D.A.R.E. Mobile, and I was able to use a smartboard and go on D.A.R.E. Mobile with my instructor password and instruct from a smartboard while the students followed along in a planner. And they kind of thought it was really cool. They thought I was a tech guy that taught them mobile D.A.R.E. through a smartboard. So it is pretty interesting. So it's basically D.A.R.E. that's taught on a computer instead of the planner that they used to teach it in. So you go from
It's amazing, yeah.
from a planner to a web-based program, and it's good.
Like moving into 21st century technology.
Yes, definitely. And I love technology, as you know.
Oh, I know.
I'm all about technology.
Let me give you a quick inside feature on Frank's technical skills. When the dog is home, which I live next door with Mary and so forth, when there's a problem with our computers or a problem with our TVs or a problem with our Netflix or a problem with anything, Jimmy's smiling because I've been asking him questions over the years. Who do you think I call? 1-800-FRANK. And he's there in about 7 minutes, and 3 minutes later, he's got it fixed. And he put in 4 TVs in our apartment one time, and he did it in about 2 hours, hour and 40 minutes or something. He was working his buns up, and he got it all set up. So, yeah, I know about his technical skills. It's pretty impressive. What was the kids' reaction, Frank, as you taught them with post-discussion? Were they excited about this?
Yeah, and the mobile D.A.R.E., they're very excited because it keeps with the personal learning out there at Romulus Central School. They use their Chromebooks every day for lessons anyways, so this is just another way for them to use the Chromebooks. But the nice thing about it is mobile D.A.R.E. Can be taught through, you can gain access to the website through your smartphone even. As we know, a lot of children nowadays have smartphones, they can actually access the classroom that I'm teaching them in and do their homework through their smartphone if they don't have their Chromebook, or they could do it through their computer at home. Now, when we get the mobile D.A.R.E., you buy them in credits of 100. They come with what they call backpack buddies, and they're basically a condensed version of the planner that I was showing, and it goes on a little chain that's attached to the backpack.
Wow.
And the students can actually grab their smartphone and scan the backpack buddy, and it'll take them right to the mobile D.A.R.E. website, and they can log in with their username and password and do their lessons on it. So it's actually a pretty neat concept, and anytime we can help the environment by not cutting down trees to use it for paper is always a good thing, going green. So.
And Sheriff, it appears in what he just said that he did put a lot of work in this. He continues to fortify his skill sets and his education to expand it down the road, and it's something which you said, you made a perfect choice of getting him in there, and I think you and the Sheriff's Group should be pretty proud of what he's done.
Yeah, I'm very proud of what he's done, and he did this on his own. He wasn't asked to do it. It wasn't something that was required for him to do. It was something above and beyond, and he took it by the bull by the horns and did it, and it worked out awesome.
It sure did. Well, listen, we're going to take our commercial break right now. We got more to talk about. We're going to talk about the cost of what Frank has explained. How much does it cost the school district? How much does it cost, to do this? We'll get to some dollars and cents, and we'll also delve into an area that we'll talk to both these gentlemen. I just added to my thought process. We'll do that when we get back on Weber This Week. Good to have you alongside.
Acting as a gateway to the Finger Lakes, Del Lago leverages the natural beauty and unique offerings while enhancing tourism in the region. The casino features 2,000 slot machines, 89 gaming tables, including 12 poker tables, portico by Fabio Viviani, a 2,400-person entertainment center, farmers market buffet. The hotel, spa, and banquet facility will open summer 2017. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. D.A.R.E. Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gold Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country fresh home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at mcgeediner.com. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at newarkpilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Cicino's Live, Laugh, Eat Well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. Visit one of their 3 locations, Waterloo, Geneva, and now at Del Lago Resort and Casino. Order online for pickup or delivery at cicinos.com.
Well, good afternoon. On a Monday, it's the dog with you. Another edition of Weber this week. I got my fingers crossed. Next week, we've been trying to get this guy in for the last few months. Very busy. Chris Polito, the Vice President of Hospitality. We all know the Del Lago Hotel is open now. People are obviously reserving rooms over there. We want to get him in here to talk about the hotel and the various components of what makes the hotel special in a lot of people's mind. And he is saying he's coming, so we got our fingers crossed that he'll be here next week. We obviously had him booked a couple of times in the last few months, and right before he's supposed to show up, along with other people out there, they get called into a meeting. We all know about what that's like, right, Sheriff? Meetings?
Yeah.
So we got our fingers crossed that Chris will be in. The 14th, Jimmy will be doing this show, and then on the 21st of August, we're going to bring in Greg Lazaro and my buddy Sweet Lou Ferrara to talk about town politics. That's another hot topic, as we all know. And, of course, if you want to come on the Weber Show, just give me an email or call Jimmy Senecropi or send him a note. You can do it on the website and tell us what you want to talk about. We'll be more than glad to book you. By the way, last week's show was a phenomenal turnout from people watching it. I think we got over 2,000 views on the show. And Megan Peter and Ashley DeVoli, the coordinator of the new Child Advocacy Center up in 17 West Main Street in Waterloo, along with the sheriff, joined us last week, so the response has been phenomenal, so we appreciate that. And if you would like to make a donation, you can go to their website and check it out and make a donation to that great cause. So that, of course, we're looking forward to the grand opening sometime late September, early October. Frank Eldredge is my special guest, Frank Eldredge Sr., and, of course, Sheriff Tim Luce is alongside. Frank, you talked about, going to technology, which, of course, is something I don't know anything about, as you know, but certainly you know a lot about it. We left off before the commercial break, and that was the cost per diem or per session. Talk a little bit about the cost. It's pretty reasonable, correct?
Yeah, the cost that was associated with the conventional planners was pretty expensive because you have to pay to have them shipped from D.A.R.E. America, which is out in California to New York State. So you can imagine how much one of these conventional planters weighs. You get 100 of them at a time in a box.
Gets a lot.
And you ship it from California to the state of New York. Whereas now it's all web-based, and once you purchase the credits, there's no shipping involved in it, and it's right there. And the credits, I control the credits when I set up the classroom for instruction to how many students are in the classroom. So the nice thing is you don't have to pay for all that shipping on the planners anymore. And I do know that, as I said, Waterloo's going through their Wi-Fi process right now. I've talked to their 5th grade elementary teacher over there, or the principal over there, about the mobile D.A.R.E and what it entails. And fielded quite a few calls after the article came out in the Finger Lakes Times about being the first in the state. There's a lot of people that are interested in mobile D.A.R.E, digital D.A.R.E. So it's definitely the future for D.A.R.E for as a way of teaching, a teaching tool.
Well, Frank made a good comment too, Sheriff, and that is not that he was tired of doing police work, but until he got this new position that you assigned him to, it's invigorated him. Since I hang out with him a lot, I know how excited he is to go there every day during a school day and do his thing. And when the article was written, he was telling me about it, and then I read the article, and I knew full hand then I was going to get him on the show to talk about it. And I think that's, you pointed out, a good term, that he took the bull by the horns and has proceeded to advance it, and he will continue to obviously make it better.
Well, I think Frank will do that. I mean, the people down there in Romulus love him. Yeah. He loves the kids and the people, and that's huge right there. Frank's great with the kids, and to look at him, you wouldn't think so. He's a big guy, you know what I mean? But the kids are just like to have him around.
Yeah, and like I say, if I'm some smart idiot walking down Ramada's school hallway, you see this guy walking down with a uniform, you just say, good morning. You start giving him one lip. I mean, the guy's just, not a short guy, and it's not easy guy to, not be intimidated by if he gets mad. And thank God, Frank, you don't get mad very often.
No.
Well, listen, this D.A.R.E discussion has been great, but since I got the sheriff here, and I got a guy that's been in the police force for 21 years, I thought I'd switch topics and keep it on the police work, if I may, for a couple of minutes. Sheriff, let's talk about something that I know hits your department, and it's a concern of yours and Frank's. The police respect around the country. To me, when I was growing up, and of course I'm 72 and a half, so it's been a bunch of years before I can say I was young, but we respected police officers. We saw them at the diner. We saw them at the bowling alley. Once in a while you get a ticket or get smart aleck about it, and they would take care of it. But what's happened to our country? I mean, you see this every single night somewhere in this country where there's zero respect and the fear of the police officers, both men and women. Where do you see this? I mean, do you see this ever changing? Is it just the way our society is now, that people just have a grudge against people who wear a badge?
I don't know if it's, the other areas, I really feel that we're pretty lucky in the Finger Lakes area. I mean, we have some really good, honest cops in this area.
Sure.
Between Seneca and Wayne and Ontario and Yates and Livingston, I know all the sheriffs in those counties. I know a lot of the police chiefs in those counties. And around here, we're pretty lucky. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we get quite as bad. I mean, we have a few, but it's not quite as bad as other areas like Chicago and the bigger cities that are having problems. And you'll see, through the year, how many times have you seen that a police officer did the wrong thing, or excessive use of force or something like that? And that gives black eye to all law enforcement. And that's probably the biggest problem. I think media is a big thing involved in this. Mm-hmm. But I really do think that our area, especially Seneca, I think Seneca Falls Town Police, Waterloo, and the Sheriff's Office and the state police that we work with, we're very lucky in our area. We have some good police officers.
And Frank, you, of course, were behind the wheel of a car. We still are when you take some shifts out there. You have seen it for 2 decades. Where do you see the lack of respect for police officers, whether it be a sheriff, whether it be a state trooper, whether it be a state park police, regardless? Where do you see that happening? Is it something that's part of our nature or the part of the society now that some people just want to take it out on policemen?
Well, I think that today's law enforcement, you have to have pretty thick skin to do the job. Mm-hmm. People certainly have a freedom of speech, and they're not afraid to speak their mind these days. And I think as law enforcement, you have to have a thick enough skin to brush it off. They're only words. And I think there's where seasoned officers come in. I think that there's a lot to be said about a seasoned officer and having the thick skin. Because let's face it, over the 22 years I have, I've been faced with a lot in my career.
Sure.
And I think a lot of times you have to have some pretty thick skin. And there's where I see these the young recruits coming out of the academy.
Right.
And it's fun this time of year because it's recruit training time. So it's kind of nice to see how they handle those situations when they are given the task of dealing with somebody on the street who is calling them names.
Right.
Whether they take it personal or whether they just brush it off.
Right.
Which is what you should do. You certainly don't want to get in a confrontation and start yelling at somebody, because I've always been a firm believer, once you start yelling at a situation, you lose control of it. And that's where the actions come in of the person you're dealing with. You're going to get that negative response out of them and the foul language, and then it heightens the situation. So I believe you want to treat everybody as you'd like to be treated, and show them the respect that you'd want to be respected with, and your career will be good.
Yeah, I mean, Sheriff and Frank, in the few times that I've had to call the police department for whatever, a small issue, whatever, to get them over the wherever we were living, very responsive, very professional. I mean, couldn't ask for more. They were just there to check on us to make sure everything was fine, and they did just a professional job. And a couple times, I will admit that I got picked up for speeding a bunch of decades ago, and had them back to back going to Geneva. It was weird. Within a week, and thank God I haven't had one since. That's about 50 years ago. But I deserved it. I was speeding. I was probably doing 48 to 40, and I got nailed twice and paid the fines, and decided I better take the foot off the pedal a bit. But I remember, I've never really had no respect. I've always had a lot of respect for police, because back in our day, we used to hang out at a pool hall in Seneca Falls called Marino's. It was a legendary place, and the policemen would go in there, and a lot of them were old timers, and they would have their lunch and sit next to you and bust your chops. And it was just a fun thing, but they were there to make sure things were safe. And I've always had a tremendous respect for police officers, regardless whether it be a woman, whether it be a man. I always respected the badge, and if I deserved a ticket, I got one, and you move on. Try not to do it again.
Yeah, I think most of the people in our county and in this area are pretty respectful.
Sure.
We have a few, and police officers aren't exempt from making mistakes either.
Sure.
I mean, they're just human too.
Yeah, that's right.
But we try to police our own, and we try to, if there's a problem, we try to address it. And I think most of the chiefs and the sheriffs in this area do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, they have, and they continue to do so. Well, guys, we're running out of time, but I do, Frank, appreciate you coming in and certainly explaining to us about the D.A.R.E program and what you have done to move it along and move it mobile, which is phenomenal. And I know you'll continue to accelerate that progress and keep us posted.
I certainly will. And as time goes on, we hopefully will have more districts get involved in mobile D.A.R.E and more counties, and it'll be widespread throughout New York State. That's the goal.
Very good.
Get it out there.
That's right. Well, okay, Frank Eldredge Sr. joining us this afternoon on the Weber Show. And Sheriff Luce, I'm sorry I can't bring you back next week, because I know you got some paperwork and some chores to handle back in the office.
Okay.
The check's in the mail for your 2 appearances, though.
Yeah, right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Sheriff Tim Luce for coming in and saying a few kind words about Frank Eldredge Sr. They go back quite a while, and obviously my friend Frank will be going together out coming up in a few days and having some laughs, no pun indicated. So, speaking for Frank Eldredge Sr., along with Sheriff Tim Luce, this is the dog bidding you farewell, everybody. Enjoy your week.